project was the Weddell seal count. The goal is to get an accurate estimate of the seals and monitor the state of the Ross Sea ecosystem. That's what the website says right under where you do the seal count. The question that's being asked is what's the routine for the seals? And also, how is the Ross Sea ecosystem, which is where they're at, how is it changing? Is it changing for good or bad? And hopefully, by answering these questions, it'll help us learn the routine of the seals, see if there's anything out of the ordinary, to see if it's changing for good or bad. And also, observing the Ross Sea ecosystem can help us learn from it, see if things are changing in a natural way or if it's being impacted negatively by humans. And hopefully, by these observations, we can learn to prevent it from getting worse or trying to reverse any negative effects.
For the Weddell sea count, what we went ahead and did is just did seal counts online by signing into the Weddell seal count and doing basically this. So it's basically just go in here and we have the picture or the classification that they'd show us, and as you can see it has different seals here, and we basically have to identify which seal fell in which category. So the three different categories that there were mother and pup, seal, and then pup alone. For example, if I zoom into this picture, I can see that there are a mother and pup here, probably another one right there. That's an individual seal, that's an individual seal, and that's another individual seal. So I would go over here, click on mother and pup, and circle this one, mother and pup, and then this one, and I just continue doing this till they're all done. Once we'd have them all classified, by the way, there was always an easy way to do this once we did it a lot, if that makes any sense, which was that a lot of the seals' common hangout spot was towards the center or more towards the right of the image. There was hardly ever any seals on this side of the image. They would almost always be over here, but we always made sure to check the edges one last time to make sure that there was no seals that we were missing. But once we were done, we just come over here and click next, and it just asks you if if we're sure we marked all the seals in the picture. So we went ahead and clicked yes, done, and then it just tells you how many marked, and you just click next and it takes you to the next picture. Humans are better suited for the seal count because it was often difficult to categorize the seals correctly or be able to tell which was which. Well, sometimes it was hard to tell between a mother and a pup apart from a rather large seal, especially when they were at a far distance. Another thing we had to take into consideration were dead seals. So they would appear every now and then, and it was only a couple of ways that we could tell if it was dead, and that was if there was blood surrounding it or if there was birds surrounding it. Lastly, towards my last couple of classifications, I noticed that more and more humans would appear in the images, and sometimes it was difficult to differentiate or tell between human equipment and a pup. So I definitely think that humans are better suited for classifying these animals, just because there's a lot of little instances that I personally feel the computer can't really, detect. I suck at wording things, but I know what I mean.
For my personal reflection, I thought that the task was easy. I think it was really interesting to see how throughout the days the amounts of seals would change, and how in some pictures you'd only see like 2 adults, but in the next one you'd see like a bunch of seals of all ages together. What I enjoyed most was just looking at pictures of animals together. And something I found surprising was that in some of the pictures you could see the photographers right there next to the seals, and the seals didn't look scared at all. They were just within like an arm's reach to them.
As a group, we all agreed that this project was in fact easy and hard. For starters, it was difficult for us to get in contact with each other. You can even argue that it still is. For example, we were all placed in a group of 6 people. However, there were 3 people working together on this project. Another thing that we found pretty difficult was that we could not accommodate to each other's schedules. Given their circumstance, it was hard to come together and voice ideas without overlapping someone's schedule. Although this was difficult, the task was fairly easy. Classifying the seals and writing the journal entries weren't all that challenging. If anything, I personally like learning new things about these seals. Overall, this was a great experience.
So personally, I found this experience to be really fun, really interesting. I mentioned in a couple of my journal entries that I would actually look forward to completing this every night. I thought it was fun counting seals and, challenging myself to distinguish between which was which and, if that's a mother and pup or just a fat seal in the distance. That's probably one of the things that I found the hardest, was being able to distinguish between, seals that were together at a distance or, if it was just a large seal. Also, I didn't encounter too many dead seals. I also did not encounter a lot of individual pups, and that was something that did worry me just because I started to question myself if I was doing it correctly. So that's another thing that I kind of struggled with. So, being able to distinguish between a seal and the human or scientist equipment that was in some of the last images I had to, look at. But everything was really fun, really interesting. I had a lot of fun doing this.